All right, guys, we are live. My name is Charles Sterling, and as typical, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're calling from. We've got a local. Instead of John Liu from Australia like we had yesterday, Jerry is actually from, I don't know, the Midwest somewhere. And Jerry is actually going to cover off one of the topics that the guys at Focus in Indiana asked. Indiana? St. Louis, actually. It was Indiana this year, St. Louis last year. How do I go out and get data in and out of Dynamics? Not just Power BI data, but I actually want to take action on it. So go out and establish flows, maybe go out and do some social lift, and even go out and notify people. So I haven't actually seen Jerry's slides. He sent me multiple copies. I haven't opened them because I love it to be a surprise. Jerry, as I've been interacting with for quite a while on the Flow and Power Apps webinars, and he actually offered to do one himself. He's an MVP in the dynamic space, and I'm really looking forward to this. So with that, Jerry, I'd love you to tell people about yourself and kind of what you're covering. Oh, actually, before you start, I would like you to actually share your screen. So over on the left-hand side, like we tested last night, there's that green icon, and I want you to actually go ahead and test your screen. You know, we just
should be sharing now.
Okay, perfect, and it looks good. Perfect. Okay, and we can see it, and it's all over to you, Betty.
Cool. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about using Microsoft Flow with Dynamics 365. We'll kind of get into the sort of an introductory level session here. I guess we're going to call it a 200 level, maybe a little bit. But if you're not sure why you signed up for this or not sure what you were expecting or it was a little unclear, here's the things that are going to happen during this 1 hour session. We're going to go through a few slides, and then we're going to do some live demos, and I've got my fingers crossed and everything else that the demos will go as expected. But basically, the bottom line is, when you're done with this hour, what I expect you'll probably do later today, hopefully, with a little bit of luck, is you'll jump in and start using Flow and just get excited about doing something with it, whether you use it with Dynamics 365 or you just create a flow that interacts with your Outlook client. So we're going to go through some fun flows that we built that run with Dynamics 365. They'll be easy to use, easy to start with. They're good examples, and then you can extend them further yourself. So a little bit about me. As Chuck mentioned, I'm a Dynamics MVP. I was awarded it back in 2010. It was sort of a function of a little bit of dumb luck and opportunity met presentation, capabilities. It was just kind of worked out. So a little bit of good fortune, and it's, I think, proven to be, for me, probably one of the top 3 professional accomplishments in my entire business career. My company is CRM Innovation. We're based in Overland Park, Kansas. We've been doing CRM implementation since 2003, and in 2007 we became a ISV and started building out some commercial products that are sold to other partners and clients worldwide, typically in the sales and marketing area, to extend and connect CRM with other apps. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter at CRM Innovation. You can call me or send me an email. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, what you see there is a snippet from my MCP profile, and you notice there that I took my first CRM exam back in May of 2003. So I've been working at this stuff for 15 years, and some days it's clear that I've forgotten more than I know today. The product was a lot easier back in those days. The exams were certainly a lot easier. There's no fun taking the Microsoft CRM exams these days. They're pretty challenging. They're pretty broad. You got to study. I did just run through 4 of them this past summer, and it was a little bit of a challenge. Even though I work in it every day, it was kind of challenging. But the most important thing is on the right. If you've ever attended a presentation that I've done before, you've seen a water skiing picture. The CRM stuff is just a day job. It just pays the bill for the tournament ski boat and gets me out on the water. That happens to be a picture of me skiing last summer in Western Massachusetts, where we travel to, and we also ski here in Kansas. A little tidbit just to kind of close out the profile here is in case anybody ever asks you about man-made lakes in In Kansas, the answer is all of them are man-made lakes. There are no naturally formed glacial-driven lakes in Kansas. They're all kind of put together either on a private basis or Corps of Engineers. So I want to make this an interactive presentation. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to show you how to connect Twitter to CRM. And I've got a giveaway there, a little incentive. I volunteered Chuck or Pervin, who are sponsoring this, to potentially or actually give away some Flow shirts or a Flow hats. All you need to do is tweet watching Jerry Weinstock at CRM Innovation present hashtag Dynamics 365 Dynamics Microsoft Flow, and that will be picked up by the flow that we've got running. You'll be able to see your name in lights here later on. And if we get a bunch of people, maybe we'll just give out a bunch of shirts and hats. If we have too many, we'll have to do some sampling. But this is kind of a good example of the way you can use this little Twitter to CRM connection potentially for contests. So what is Flow? And this is what we're going to cover over here in the next few slides. It is a application to application tool set. It allows you to connect a application to another application. There's a variety of applications out there that Flow works with. It is increasing every day. The way the Flow team works is they are building out new features and services and releasing it just about every week something comes out. So you can go out to the flow.microsoft.com and the user interface can be different. There can be new buttons out there. There can be new templates. It's constantly changing. It's not like Dynamics 365 where there's 2 major releases a year. Flow team operates completely different. There are certainly some pluses and minuses with that because the stream is continuous. So in the app-to-app connections, you can do a number of things. You can transfer data, you can get alerts, you can pull data in and store it into OneDrive. And one of the things that's really cool is you can build an automated approval process with a point-and-click interface. And that's one of the things that I will demo here today. So the Flow team has put together a very nice visual designer. It's kind of like business process flows inside of Dynamics CRM, but it is certainly less, perhaps, I want to say less geeky, more UI friendly than the current workflow engine in the Dynamics platform. So you've got a very vertical approach to things. It starts in terms of, okay, what do I want to do to wake up the system? And then now that I've woken up, now that I've been alerted, what are my actions and what are my conditions? And then here in the little blue area where you've got these little field names, those are the slugs that go into the logic. So the other part of understanding what flow is understanding what's the impact on other processes that happen within the CRM system. And when Flow first came out, people were wondering, especially developers, is this going to put them put them out of a job? And the answer, simply put, is no. If you know the CRM API, there's still a wonderful place for you in the Dynamics world. It's not going to put any of these other third-party applications out of business. These are enterprise-class applications to integrate CRM with back-office enterprise planning systems, with other applications that are out there, other databases, and Kingsway Scribe and Cozy Rock will not be measurably impacted by Microsoft Flow. Our company, for example, has an ISV solution that connects CRM with Eventbrite.com. There is a Flow connector for Eventbrite, but I will tell you it is very superficial. It kind of just covers a very, top 1% of what you can do with the Eventbrite API, and it's not going to impact our event to CRM integration. It is not a replacement for CRM Workflow, but it is a replacement for SharePoint Workflow. So you cannot hide from Microsoft Flow. There's no avoiding it. It is front and center in the V9 release. It's on a variety of toolbars, navigation toolbars, action bars that are in the CRM system, and your users are going to see it. But let's kind of continue on positioning where Flow fits into the Dynamics 365 workflow environment. So this is a slide I snagged off a Flow team presentation. I think it went back to Ignite or something like that. And this is the way the Flow team at one time, I assume it's relatively current, kind of position Flow versus 365 Workflow. And we'll go into this a little bit further, but Flow has certain advantages and capabilities that are not available through Dynamics Workflow. Flow has recurring processes built in. It has looping and querying. It has some scheduling capabilities. That's not built into Dynamics 365 Workflow. Workflow is, inside of CRM, more of an enterprise class solution. I would make that contention, where Flow is more of a power user individual workflow tool. So being contacted from time to time and being contacted after presentations I've done on Flow and Dynamics 365, I often get the question is, when should I use Microsoft Flow versus CRM Workflow to do something? And one of the things that you find out with working with me is I tend to have a long explanation for a lot of things. In this case, I kind of really tried to dummy it down and make it as simple as possible. And I was a contributor to the CRM Tip of the Day for a long period of time. And this is one of the posts I made. And simply, the answer to that question is, hey, if Flow didn't exist, could you do it with CRM Workflow? If you could, do it with CRM Workflow. If you can't do it with CRM Workflow, then look to Microsoft Flow. That's a simple explanation. All right. Another slide that I snagged from a Flow team presentation is sort of a visual of how Workflow fits inside of Dynamics 365 and how Microsoft Flow works. So you've got on the right-hand side, Flow is connecting to a wide number of apps out there, and CRM Workflow is sort of internal, basically. Sure, it does some external things like, create a new record, escalate this, respond to that, and create an activity that comes into Outlook or send an email. But Workflow does not have the capability of connecting to any external applications besides Outlook. So how do you get Flow? You can go to flow.microsoft.com. If you're an Office 365 user, you're going to see it in your welcome screen. Or if you open up Dynamics 365, you're going to either see it from the navigation system, which you saw a little while ago, or if you click on the Dynamics 365 dropdown, you're going to see this in your available applications. Once again, it's all over. So once you decide that you want to start fiddling around with Flow, where do you run it? Well, typically you run it on the browser. That's where I run it most of the time. There's also a mobile app, and you're going to see the Android version of the mobile app because I'm going to show you how a button works. There's an iOS version, and then there is a Android version, of course, Windows Phone. So we've got the 3 different platforms. On iOS, it works on the phone and the iPad, but the iPad uses the phone version, so it's not really optimized for the iPad. One thing it does not support is it does not support the Windows 10 desktop. So if you go out to the store on your Windows desktop device and try and download Microsoft Flow, it's going to tell you that the app doesn't work on your device. So there's a view on the right-hand side of the mobile app. So what happens when you get there? You get over 400 templates. Big difference than Dynamics 365 Workflow. Dynamics 365 Workflow, you get a blank screen. Templates with Flow, you get a big start. What you see here are templates here that are just being filtered based upon Dynamics 365. So Dynamics 365 is one of the applications in the Flow template. You'll see the number of times that it's been used, who the publisher was, which is a really cool feature. If you look to the second row, second template in and third template in, I've highlighted it on the second template. A gentleman named Richard submitted a flow that was accepted by the team and included in one of the templates. Another gentleman, Henry, has another flow about SharePoint and Dynamics 365, and that's been used 233 times. So if you really want to get, your 15 minutes of fame, put together a cool template, send it to the Flow team, and you just may be out there on the Flow site. So you get all these templates. There's 207 services. Last time I checked, which was Sunday, if you were to check again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than 207 templates. There's some listings of popular connectors, recently added connectors, and then the all connectors goes on for multiple screens. So there's just one little screenshot. You'll see a number of the connectors, like Salesforce there on the bottom row, has a premium next to. That means you need a paid subscription to Flow to use it. There are some others listed there on the second row. Not sure really why the team did this, and I have some suspicions or hopes that this may change. Although in the meantime, I don't mind seeing that the Salesforce people get gigged a little bit, and they can't use the free version of Flow to work with their Salesforce product. So there is what I would refer to as the elephant in the room, which is Microsoft's purchase of LinkedIn for $26 billion. I thought the Flow team would jump all over that and have all sorts of great connection capabilities to LinkedIn with Flow, and we could connect to LinkedIn and have Flow tell us when anybody got their contact information or their profile information. LinkedIn was updated, and we could update CRM directly. Not the case. Strong interest in protecting all that intellectual property that's inside of LinkedIn, and then shortly thereafter, Talent came out of private preview, out of NDA, and Talent's the way to go. But there are some lightweight connections between LinkedIn that you can use as actions and other apps, and they're shown there in the lower left-hand corner. Mostly the functionality is to kind of push something over to LinkedIn, like a company update or an article or just a simple list. But there's no capability to get in there at the individual LinkedIn contact level and start sucking information out of it. Here is the last slide that I've stolen from a Flow team presenter, and this was probably 6 months ago on the Flow roadmap. The team doesn't publish a roadmap for the product. They just kind of release stuff right and left and then tell you what they did that week with the Flow blog. All right, so how do you build a Flow? There are 5 key components with some subcomponents, but the key components, and we're starting up here at the top in the 12 o'clock position, are their services. So you have to select which service you want to connect to, and then once you connect to a service on the right-hand side, you need to define what the triggering event is. In the Dynamics category, if you're triggering off a Dynamics event, it's when a record is created, deleted, updated. Financials got some things, common data service. You'll have a list, and that list will be specific based upon the service that you're connecting to. Then from there, you can create a condition. So if the record that you pulled back that was just created, you can evaluate it, and you can determine if you want to do something, yes or no, based upon that triggering event. The actions that you can perform are over there on the left-hand side of the slide there, kind of in the 7 o'clock position. And then after you have an action, then you can add some additional conditions to that, switch cases, do or until, and some other factors to that. So basically, you've got the service, you got, hey, what's a triggering event? Wake me up with something. What do I do now that you woke me up with the condition? Now that you satisfied the condition, what action you take, or if you did not satisfy the condition, you could do something on a negative standpoint. And then do you want to loop around and do that several times in case there were a multitude of triggering events that occurred when it connected? So what are the connections that you can do in the CRM world? A couple of the interesting ones are when a record is deleted. It's a triggering event, and the action corresponding to that could be delete another record, for example. So you've got the triggers on the left, the list of actions on the right. Now you'll notice here that some of the actions are duplicated. Same thing over here on the triggering event area. You got the word preview after it. So there's some legacy actions or legacy triggers, and then there's a newer version of it. If you want to see what's the difference between the preview and the legacy, you come over here to the right-hand side where you see the little circle with the eye. When you mouse over that, it's going to pop up a little piece of information, and it's going to tell you here in this particular example on the screen on the left-hand side, option sets exposed as strings. So the trigger event initially with CRM for an option set, you had to know the geeky option set ID number. Now, if you use the new approach, you only need to include the human readable. So Flow is constantly looking at the source application, the service that you're connected to on the "Hey, I'm listening" side. I'm not going to go into licensing. That would be a whole nother 2 or 3 hour discussion. But what I want to point out here is that there's a maximum number of runs per month per user, depending upon which plan you're on. And there's a flow frequency. So now some of the flows are gated. So for example, the connection to Twitter isn't every 5 minutes. It's a little bit less frequent than that. So they don't overpower the Twitter API. But if you're connecting to Flow every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what you're going to find out pretty darn quickly is you're going to exceed the maximum number of runs per month. In fact, you'll exceed that probably within a few days. So you may want to set your reoccurrence, which you can do in the top of your flow, to maybe once an hour, once a day, once every 15 minutes, rather than as frequently as the system can do it. So let's kind of talk about security a little bit. Flow uses the security that you give it when you make the connection, and you give it the ability to authenticate using your credentials. So on the right-hand side, you see a pop-up here when I want to connect to Trello, which is one of the apps that you can use with Flow. It's going to give you this pop-up. It's telling me how I'm logged in, how I'm connected to Trello and to to Flow, and it's going to tell me what it's going to be able to do when it connects to Trello via Flow. So the app will be able to read, create, and make comments. It won't be able to read my email address or see my Trello password, allow or deny. So you're going to have to click allow to allow it to do it. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you see that I'm connected to Dynamics 365, and I can view the permissions that I've granted to Flow, read my user profile, and do complete CRUD capabilities: create, read, update, and delete. Really important. You're giving it all the permissions that you normally would have in Dynamics 365. You're giving that to the Flow engine. But you're not giving any more capabilities to it. So for example, I did this as a little test. I connected to our CRM org. I created a custom entity called FLS test for field level security tests. And then I changed my security role. I had another administrator change my security role. So I did not have access to that custom entity. So when I tried to create the flow and connect to that entity, it came back with a message that said, hey, no good, won't work. So it's not going to do more than I'm allowed to normally do inside of CRM. Additionally, within the same level of field level security testing that we're showing just at the entity level, even when I granted it capabilities to get access to the FLS custom entity, there was a field level security field that was locked down. I did not have permission to access that field. So I said, when the record's created, send an email to myself, and in the body of the email, put the display names and the slugs in there for the field. And it came back with the display name, and you can see the secret stuff, which is the field data, is blank. So it also respects field level security. Lastly, in terms of the security capability with Microsoft Flow, is you can control what people can do with it in terms of which apps they can connect to and which apps they cannot connect to. It's got a visual designer in the Flow environment for administrators. And basically you can say, hey, I've got this area here that I've fenced in area, business data only. And right now it's got OneDrive for Business in it. So there's nothing else in there that you can use Flow with to connect to OneDrive. So before I drag the Office 365 Outlook icon over to the allowed area that would allow me to connect OneDrive to Office 365 Outlook, before I did that, the user would get this error message here. Okay, I want to try and save an email attachment from Outlook to OneDrive, and it comes back with this error message. The flow was created, but hey, it's not working because it uses services that are in conflict with the environment for data loss prevention. So the word to the wise here is if you're an Office 365 administrator, you may want to talk to your management and determine what you want to allow your Flow CRM users and other Office 365 users to do with Flow. And if you want to lock that down, you want to make sure that Dynamics 365 is on this side, south of the fence line, and not on the business data only side. Okay? So now we're going to get into the live demo, and I'm going to show you 3 different things, and I'm going to have to move some browsers back and forth and connect to my phone, and hopefully everything will go correctly, and hopefully Pervin or Chuck will tell me if something's not displaying correctly. But we're going to listen to Twitter. There's 2 different connections I've got running, and we'll see how people are doing on the little contest and see who's tweeted the correct tweet that I listed at the beginning, so that we can see your name in lights and maybe win a t-shirt or a hat. I'm going to show you how you can create a button that you can use on your phone to create a contact in CRM and why I would even do that. And I'm going to show you sort of the coup de grace, which is a conditional approval that we use here for personal time off. Have we gotten any questions before we go to the live demo?
We sure haven't. Actually, we got a couple, but I've been handling them in situ.
Perfect.
So we're good right now.
Okay. So let's do this here. You should be able to see my CRM scene.
It looks great too, Jerry.
Okay. All right. So here we are in a test org that we've got going, and we have a personal time off entity. At CRM Innovation, we're a consulting firm. We need to charge our customers for our time. We have a time card system we've built into CRM that we relate to our project entity inside CRM, which is in turn related to a specific account, and we produce our billing out of this system. Previously, before Flow, I would get an email from team members saying, hey, Jerry, I want to go on vacation this week. I want to take this day off. Or, by the way, I'm going to be sick today. I'm home. And that was great. I'd reply back and say, you're approved, et cetera. And there would be no real record keeping in our little system that we run here. So we added personal time off tracking to the system. What we did was create a PTO record. Oops, hang on. Yep, here it is. It's a simple record here. It's got just a couple fields on it. I am logged in as Justin Cole here, and Justin wants to request some time off, and he's got some choices here. And my little drop-down option said he could request a Ferris Bueller day off, family medical, sick leave, new job search, or he could pick the very popular none of your business. So he wants a none of your business day off. And he wants it for April. We'll go out here. We'll do it April 1st. That won't work. April Fool's Day is a Sunday. So we'll do for the 2nd. So we save the record. And what's going to happen is a flow is going to trigger off here. Okay. And I've got a flow that works on that. And we'll wait for that to come in. I should get an email momentarily. But while we're waiting for that to come in, let's take a look at that flow. So I'm going to come over here, and it's called PTO Travel, PTO Approval here. Got that on my screen. Going to look at editing it here. And let's take a look at it. So when a record is created in this particular org that we're running the flow against, send an approval email to Justin's manager with this subject, put in the slugs, the name, the PTO type, the date, and with the user options approved or denied. Now that's significant because that's what we're going to see in the email. And based upon the approval button that I click, approved or denied, we're going to take a conditional path. If yes, we're going to send an email to the requester and we're going to update the PTO record. If no, we're going to send a denied email and then update the PTO record also. Okay. So we're going to put flow in the sort of the debug or testing mode, and I'm going to update the flow, which sort of improves the process. I may need to come back over here. Let me move this down a little bit. And I'm going to create another new record here. And I'm going to create a vacation request for Justin for the 22nd. All right. And then we're going to save the record here. Okay. All right. And then if we go back to our flow, you can see that it's already started to run. We see the visualization. The green check mark indicates this step has been accomplished. Send the approval email. It's waiting there. And look, guess what I got? I'm going to put it on my screen here. I just got the email. Subject line, body. We're not very creative in terms of what we put in the body of the message. It's sort of a repeat of the subject. And at this point in time, I can click on approved or denied. Okay. And I'm going to click on approved. And that's going to open up a new web page in my browser. And it's sort of interesting. This is driven by Azure. Microsoft takes care of it. And this is the URL. I'm always curious to see what else would be going on out there, but I haven't explored it. Now, immediately after that, we're going to show you where the flow is running here. The flow is run here. It was true because I clicked on approved and we went down the happy path, and we see some nice green check marks here indicating these steps were exercised. We did not go down the no path. We did send out the email that went to Justin from me. I also gave myself a copy, and it's been approved, and you're best friend forever. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look in my dashboard here. I put together a little dashboard here, and you can see that his none of the business request for time off was approved, and there's still a pending request for vacation here. All right. And if we were to open up the exact record here, you'll see that the status of the record was changed to approved. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is we'll click done here. We'll leave that. Sometimes you see some failures in here in the history, and we can click here and we can look and see why it failed. And apparently it looks like there was a invalid recipient. Something didn't happen quite right. So you can see the failure there. All right. We'll come back here. So I'm back here over here. We'll go back to my dashboard. My flow, oops, there's my dashboard. All right. And that other flow request hasn't quite come in yet. I go over here to edit. This may sometimes force it to come up there, trigger the process. And this is a conditional approval process. What we'll do is we'll click done here. What I want to do is make a copy of it. Save as a copy. Go back over here. And now let's look at the copy. These little symbols mean whether it's running or not. This one is off. The copy is off. We'll look at it. Let's dig down a little bit deeper here. Okay. So how do you get this information in here? So you click in the field, and then this additional window opens up here that's dynamic content. You could put in hard-coded information. I could put in at jerry@crminnovation.com if I wanted to, but I want to use dynamic content in here. So this is a probably better way to do that. So maybe I want to put in there the date the record was created here. So I can just click here and it pops it in over here. I can also write expressions. There's additional functions that we can write here, kind of like you can do in Excel. You can do some math functions. You can do some date and time work. We're not going to do that today here, though. So I just got my other approval request. This time I'm going to go denied. And we'll close that window. We'll go back to Flow here, and we'll go to close here. Okay. And it should have run. Come back over here to my dashboard. See where it said pending. Let's do a refresh all. Hasn't come back in yet. Been approved there. There. Okay. So, not sure why that hasn't come back in. Pending. We'll have to look. Maybe the flow failed. We'll have to check on that. So let's look at some other flows that we've got running. Let's go to the one that we've got running for Twitter. We've got two of them actually. So let's go. One thing I've got running, I'll show you first. I've got a flow that's running that says, hey, let's find everybody that is tweeting about Dynamics 365 or Microsoft Flow that has more than 2,151 followers. That's the number of followers that I currently have. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more after today. If yes, create a new record. Create it in my sandbox org. I've got a custom entity called Twitter Competitors. And basically all I'm interested is in the name, the number of followers that they have, and their screen name. That's all I'm interested in. So if we're actually to go over to my CRM system, we can scroll over here, and I've got a little dashboard screen. We'll blow this up over here and expand it. But these are all the people that have been tweeting in the last few days that have more Twitter followers than I do that are using one of those two hashtags. So it looks like the Flow team, another person, Flow team again, Extreme 365, and Ajik, 2,206 followers, 6,015. So a little bit of an ego thing. There's a bunch of people. Here's somebody with 44,000 followers tweeting about Dynamics CRM or Microsoft Flow. Okay. So that's one way you can use that connection. And we're going to take a look at that connection here. Basically, once again, we connect it to the Twitter service. I put a condition in there. Don't create any records if it's less than 2151, okay, or equal to 2151. And then when you create the record, use these values. And once again, you can come in here, and if I click on a field, it opens up this dynamic area of slugs, variable pieces of data that we can enter in there. Typically, it only comes up with a limited number of fields. Click on See More, and you can see everything. And this is everything that's available from Twitter for us. Quite frankly, some of these things didn't make sense to me at first when I started doing this for the very first time about a year ago. I just grabbed a bunch of fields and stuck them in some new custom entity alphanumeric text fields that I had created in CRM. And then later on, I named them properly once I reverse engineered what some of these Twitter fields meant. Okay, retweet count, original Twitter, user ID, all sorts of good information there that you can use. So we'll close out of that. One thing happens anytime you open up the Flow interface, it thinks it's dirty, even if you just looked and didn't touch anything. So it's going to give you this pop-up here. I'm going to just, cancel it without saving because I don't want anything changed here. All right. So let's go to the other Flow connection for Twitter of interest. I've labeled them with BT, Better Together, because there's no simple way to kind of get this sorted here in the list. So I want to go to this one here, CRM hashtags. Open this up and basically say when a new tweet is posted containing one of our magic formula hashtags that we're using for our contest, make this little webinar a little bit more interactive, create a new record. I'm creating a new record in a different custom entity, and I'm storing some additional information here. I want to know what the tweet text was, who was tweeted, how many followers they have, and a description of who they are from Twitter. Okay. So I'm going to close that here. Once again, close it without saving. Let's go over to my dashboard here. And now I've got that down here. So we'll just do a quick refresh here, force a refresh of that grid view, and we can see the tweeting that's been going on. All right, cool. This individual right here did a retweet. I actually did a brand new tweet. Here's somebody did a retweet of somebody else's tweet with Microsoft Flow. Data Matters, Serendipity, Badger Tech, Chaz, and I've got my view that is tracking that, and it's tracking that. If I select the right one, open that up, and it looks like we have 10 people so far that have jumped on the bandwagon, and there's your name in lights. This is a retweet, so that's not going to count for Minagic. They're on the other side of the planet. They're actually probably not up at this time of day. That must be an automated system that's doing it. And looks like we've got potentially 9 people that are in the contest, and we'll have to figure out if we've got 9 t-shirts or hats to give out, or we need to do some little sampling from that. So this is an easy way that a individual that uses dynamic CRM can create a connection to Twitter and perhaps track specific companies that they're interested in, things of that nature. The only thing that needs to happen is the CRM admin needs to set up a custom entity to collect these tweets, give the CRM user the rights to create and update records, and you could create your own personal little mini social engagement system. Maybe if you're not big enough to require Microsoft social engagement. But this is what I would refer to as sort of the poor man's social implement here. Some of the people that have demonstrated Flow and the Twitter connection have put in some artificial intelligence using the Microsoft Azure AI to add sentiment capabilities, things of that nature. So you can take it and put it on steroids if you like. So thanks everybody for doing the submissions. We may get a couple more before the end of the session here, now that you're seeing the wonderful opportunity to get your name in lights. So I'm just going to minimize that for the moment. Looks like we're running pretty good on a time standpoint. What I'm going to do is fire up my phone. But first, let me check with Pervin or Charles, see if there are any questions that we need to attend to right now that I need to jump on.
Seth was saying that if you could actually do a Visio diagram of all the pieces in play, that would be pretty cool for the next time you deliver this, or maybe in the slides, that way if other people do it. But no questions. That is a very cool demo, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely cool demo. But now that you've mentioned that, Charles, maybe that's something that we should take on our side. Is maybe Flow should be able to output that in a little bit more Visio manner.
Yeah.
Sounds like something that you and John Levesque can go and talk about.
Sounds like I've signed him up for a neat idea.
Right. Right. Because I will show you here. It is challenging. This is that's not the one that I wanted to show you here. Leave that here. When I work with Flow, yes, you can create a Flow on your phone or on your iPad or some other tablet, something along those lines. But I work with Flow on my Surface Book, and I put it on my external monitor, which is a 24-inch screen and 1900 by something resolution, because Flow is very screen intensive. Let me find you a good example here. This is something here. Right. So what happens here is you start to put in this switch case. A switch case is, hey, if the approval says yes, depending upon some other factors here, you might want to do some other things here. So I want to create a Emmet to CRM card in Trello if it meets a certain case. If it's a web to CRM in this subject, I want to create a web to CRM card. And then you have to kind of slide over, and it is a little challenging to navigate through the system sometimes here. You see the slider bar here. So Flow is very screen real estate intensive. You cannot have too big of a monitor when you're working with Flow. No doubt about it. Okay, let's get my phone up on the screen. Let's do this. Let's go live. All right, how do I do that here? Oh, I probably have to do it like that. Oops. Okay, so let me do this. I need to share a different screen. I'm going to share my main monitor for this. Okay. So I just want to check that with Pervin and or Chuck that you can see my screen.
We're looking at your phone. It looks great.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I've got my flow icon right here on my main screen there. I tap on the flow icon and it's going to load flow. And I've got a menu available at the bottom of the screen. Let me hide that right there that I've got. And then I've got all of a little bit of a delay right there. Okay. Yeah, between the phone and the screen and the little screen, the little phone app that displays it to my computer. So you're also going to see some other junk, quite frankly. The joy of live demos with a live phone. So these are all the flows that have run. These are the ones that ran yesterday. As I scroll down, I can tap on the browse button here and I can create a new flow. It brings up the template screen here and I could create a new flow, but it's a little bit challenging. If we have a few minutes here at the end, I might show you what that looks like. But what I want to show you is the button functionality. You can create a flow as a button, and I've got a number of buttons here on my screen, and I want to show you this one called BT, create a new contact. And the BT means just I'm using it here for my demo, Better Together. So I click on the create a new contact button. And what this flow is going to do, and I'll show you what it looks like inside of flow here in a moment after I go through this, it's going to allow me to create a contact, first name, last name, email, business phone, personal notes, and buying influence. And it's going to create a corresponding record in CRM in the contact area. And then it's also going to create an activity for me to come back and update this contact with additional information and associate it with the appropriate account record. Okay. And that's going to be an activity record that's going to sync back to Outlook. So you're wondering why, as a CRM guy, why I would not be using the mobile app to do this. There's a couple reasons. One is this is a nice, easy, sweet little demo application for the button, so it's nice and easy to demo. But the real reasons is my CRM mobile app is often not connected to my production CRM system. As a consultant, I'm out there demoing it, so it's connected to maybe one of our sandbox instances, or I'm training a client or showing it to a client on how they could use it, and it's connected to their CRM org. It's very rarely connected to my production org, number one. Number two, as great as the mobile app is, and it's really great, and the V9 version is even greater, it's wonderful. There are sometimes I just need to do a single thing and I need to do a task-specific function. I need to do it as quickly as possible. I'm in a meeting, I'm in a network event, I meet somebody, I walk away to the other corner of the room or grab a refreshment, I'm grabbing another drink or something or a munchie, and I need to enter the person's information really quickly because I am the fastest person at forgetting someone's name. So I use this little button here, flow button that I've created. So I can tap on the last name area, and then it does a nice job of reminding me of some of the recent inputs I have. So I'm just going to tap on Smith. I go back up here and tap on Sam's first name. Okay. There may be a little lag by the time you're seeing it between I'm talking and what the screen is doing, but I'm grabbing contact email. I could either select an email or type in a new one. I'll do Sam Smith, business phone number, just to show you that I could actually type something in. I'll type in the phone number as a bunch of gobbledygook. I could put in a personal note here. And in the personal note category, I'm going to use the dictation functionality of speech to text. Sam is a really good guy, and he could be our internal influencer on the project. Okay, I've paused. I've come down here. Besides text input, I could also have a little option set, and I'm going to say that he is a recommender specifier, and I click OK. Now, the first thing you may be wondering here is, why didn't I have an account? record lookup. Well, Flow can't do that. If you want to have a lookup to CRM, you need to build yourself a Power App. Okay. So all I do is tap on Done at the top of the screen, and it's going to spin, and it's going to create my record in the CRM system. So let me just kind of minimize that for the moment. Let's go back over here and get the correct thing so you don't see my desktop. And we want to go over here to Contact View in CRM. And I've got to view contacts created by Jerry today. There it is. There's Sam Smith. Records loading with some of the gobbledygook phone information I entered here. And this point in time, I've got an activity created here. Remember, I was going to create an activity record, update Sam Smith contact record, and now I can come in here and I can link him to the A-Datum Corporation and save the record. What does that look like in Flow? So there's my, I forgot the right button here. Where'd that go to? Oh, here it is, right here. So here's what it looks like in Flow. Manually trigger a flow. Here's the inputs. Create a new record. There's my slugs. And then there's a follow. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of fields. And then create a task to remind me. So here's update first name, last name as the subject. And then if I come down here, give it a due date, which is the date it was created. And then the regarding is the contact record that was just created. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is try and push the envelope a little bit here. Let me go back to sharing my screen that I want to put this on more Facebook stuff. I'm going to share my other monitor, screen 2. So I'm back to screen 2. So you should be seeing right now the Flow interface, the Flow site, and I'm logged in as Justin Cole. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a button right now in the last few minutes. So come over here to My Flow.
That is what we're saying, by the way.
Cool. I go to My Flows. Justin doesn't have any flow, so I want to either create it from a blank or create it from a template. Okay. And I could create, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to show you how to use the Flow blog template and change it to work the way you want it to work. This is the thing that you should probably do if you want to use Microsoft Flow after this event, is go into Flow and use the Flow blog template so that you're getting regular updates via email every time the blog team posts something. It looks like it's been used 41,000 times. So I'm going to click here, and this is set up to do an RSS to a notification, but that's not what I want to do. I want to change that and edit the template and set it up so that it works with my Outlook client. So get rid of that little message over here. It's created it, made the connections for me, but I want to edit it. So this step right here, send a push notification. I want to delete this. Okay. And I want to add another step in here. And I want to add a apply to each, because when this flow connects to the blog, there may have been several blog postings since the last time it connected, and I want to make sure that I do it for each of those blog postings, which is to send me an email. So we're using the applied in each, which is a looping capability. So now I want to add an action, and this is where it gets interesting here. Do you search for Office 365? Do you search for Outlook? I'm just going to type in, send email, or try and type in send email. There it is right there. So I click on the action, send an email. It's going to load it. I could hard code it if I was Justin, have it sent to me, which is what I'm going to do because there's nothing available from the blog that I can pick from. So I'm going to do Justin, And guess what? It found me. Put in the subject. I'm going to call it flow blog colon, and then I'm going to grab the feed title from the blog, and then in the body of the message, I'm going to put in, let's go, I'm going to grab the feed summary, and then I'm also going to grab the primary link because I want to have the synopsis, and there's always more to it, so I want to be able to click directly on it and from the email and take me to the Flow blog page. Hit save. And it's off and running. We present to you today about using Microsoft Flow to extend Dynamics 365. It's a lot of fun. It's all about the fun. Have a great day.
Jerry, you did an awesome job. I want to thank you very, very much. Don't jump off after I'm going to end the session, but I want to thank the folks that are watching. And this is actually a series that Pervin plans on continuing. So please watch the Dynamics blog and actually see more of the Dynamics CRM with Pervin in sessions to come. Thank you very much.